welcome back, everyone. It's the verdict. You were just watching poll stream, but now we're back. It's the election coverage, election 2019, and the results are beginning to trickle in. Still keeping an eye on Imo State, and that was the last state we left off before we took a break, and then you had poll stream. But let me just update you on the results that we have right now, just in case you're joining us on the program for the first time. So we have Abia, Okeze, Ikbazo, Akwa Ibom, Udom, Emmanuel, Cross River, Ben Ayade, Delta, Ifeanyi Okowa, Ebonyi, David Umahi, Gombe, Inua Yahaya, Jigawa, Badaru Abubakar, Kaduna, Nasser El-Rufai, Katsina, Aminu Mazari, Kwara, Abdurrahman Abdulrazak, Lagos, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, Nasarawa, Abdullahi Sule, Niger, Abubakar Bello, Ogun Dakpo Abiodun, Oyo, Sheyi Makinde, Zamfara, Idris Shehu, Imo, ongoing as you can see, and then we have Borno, Babagana, Umar. Now some of the polls didn't go as well as others, so they were inconclusive, and those include Adamawa, Bauchi, Plateau, Sokoto, and Benue State. And of course, elections were suspended in some areas, including Rivers and Kano. I will say we're waiting on some states, and those include Taraba, Yobe, and Kebbi State. So 3 states to go, and we're waiting on Imo to add it to the other pack. Tell us what you think. Hashtag the verdict. Hashtag 2019 elections. Ladi.
Indeed. Interesting results.
Indeed. Yeah.
So fairly interesting, actually. It's part of our complaints about the process and people talking about how slow it is. It actually did show that, by and large, that in some places, the results are showing that the people know what they want. What Mrs. Benitez was referring to earlier on, that they may be poor, majority, and not too educated and so on, but they certainly are not stupid, and they know what they're doing. In the presidential election, they went one way. In the governorship, they've headed the other way in some states. So again, it's a deliberate act. Okay, I understand. I've just been told actually that we have a track, a soundbite from the Kano State Commissioner of Police, which is talking about the elections that.
He's the Police Public Relations Officer. Remember, elections were suspended in that area. So let's see what he has to say.
On the 11th March 2019, at about 0100 hours, Murtala Sule, Commissioner for Local Government Kano State, and Lamin Sani, the Executive Chairman, Nasarawa Local Government Kano State, were arrested at Nasarawa Local Government Area Collation Center for 2019 gubernatorial and state assembly elections. They were alleged to have penetrated the collation center and attempted to destroy election result sheets. While His Excellency, the Deputy Governor of Kano State, Dr. Nasiru Yusuf Gauna, was rescued from the scene. Investigation into this ugly incident has commenced, and the command is assuring members of the public that whoever is involved will be investigated and, of course, charged to court. Members of the public are enjoined to remain calm as the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, is on the way to announce the election results. Furthermore, it is also observed that some political gladiators in the state commence celebrations of election victory. The command is putting it clear to all and sundry that the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, should be allowed to finish collating the results and declare authentic winners before any celebrations take place.
All right, that's from Kano State. Now, another area where elections were suspended is River State, and our correspondent went around town to just get the feel of the people and find out how they feel, seeing that their polls have been suspended. Dobra?
It's the day after the suspension of the election in River State, and all seem calm as people are going about their daily activities. Madam Joy Patrick sells roasted plantain, and she's out for the day's business.
I came out this morning to do my normal business as usual. And when I came out, everywhere is free. I even went to town market and bought my market goods, and I'm here now selling. The place is peaceful, there is no problem.
A drive through most of the major streets in Port Harcourt shows that the people are moving on with their lives as they get busy with their businesses. We visited Fimie Market, where traders and other people selling wares speak of the suspension of the election and the perceived tension in the state.
When I come out and I see people going back in their normal businesses, I have to come out for my own self.
It came as a shock. Generally, for me, the election has been peaceful, but when I woke up to the news that the election has been suspended, I just felt basically it's uncalled for. But generally, I can say clearly the election has been peaceful. There are security tensions in River State. As you can see, I am not in the office. I'm supposed to go to work. I got a security alert from my company telling us to be cautious of the movement in River State. So generally, people have been apprehensive and they've been trading everywhere they go with caution.
We also visited the state secondary school in Amadiama, where we discovered that teachers and students have returned to class.
And those 5 compulsory subjects are English language, mathematics, history of government.
For this tricycle operator, even though all seem normal, he believes patronage today is lower compared to the days preceding the elections.
I just like the way they suspend the election for now. At least make them put things in order first. Today, not today like Monday. Before Monday, like last week Monday, everywhere they groove, people full, everywhere cars here and there. But just see as the road just be now, today will be Monday. So I feel that people still there at home, you understand, because they fear because of the way the election go on Saturday. Well, more just thank God, but I believe that nothing will happen.
The suspension for the election is very good because of the way the area is at that moment. It's very good for INEC to suspend everything so that the tension will calm down and everybody will calm down before declaring the results.
Having spoken to a cross-section of Rivers people, what the ordinary Rivers man and woman wants is for peace and calm to return to Rivers State. They want the electoral process to be done with so that life can return to normal in Rivers State. From Port Harcourt, Deborah Timiwood, Channels Television News.
All right, Deborah Timiwood there in Port Harcourt giving us the reactions to residents there. We have some more reactions, this time from Ogun State, and they're reacting to the election result in that area. Let's see what our correspondent find out.
Songs of victory from supporters of the All Progressives Congress, APC, in Ogun State, where Mr. Dapo Abiodun, the governorship candidate, is declared winner. Mr. Abiodun polls 241,670 votes to beat his closest rival from the Allied People's Movement, Adekunle Akinlade, who polled 222,153 votes.
Dapo Abiodun of All Progressive Congress, having satisfied the requirements of the law and scored the highest number of votes, is hereby declared the winner and is returned elected.
But that announcement hasn't gone down well with the Labour Party in the state, as the leaders of the party reject the outcome. They say the party's name was omitted from the ballot paper.
Because it is unlawful for INEC to exclude us when we have submitted our form. So as it stands today, the winner of this election is not validly elected.
The INEC Resident Electoral Commissioner explains that the commission never got any formal complaint.
We have not received any complaint from Labour Party, so I don't know where this complaint is coming from.
The governor-elect gives the people of Ogun State an assurance of purposeful leadership and transparency to characterize his leadership.
The development of Ogun State is a collective duty of all. With the love of Ogun in our hearts, we all have something to offer. And our government will be more than willing to take the benefits of shared knowledge and experience. Our government, your government, shall give Ogun State a focused and qualitative governance that is responsive, open, and accountable to the people.
The governor-elect is making promises that residents of the state will obviously hold him accountable to when he takes over the reins of government.
All right, so there we have it. Ogun State, River State. So it's a mixed bag, isn't it? Like
I did notice something because one of the respondents in the River State report said something about lowering the tension, before they announced the results. And I felt that, maybe there wasn't some. I think Mrs. Bidete there pointed out that maybe they're not fully aware of what exactly has taken place. In River State, there is no announcement of results going to take place at anytime soon. The elections in River State have been suspended, and a decision on what would then take place subsequently.
I think it ties back into what you were saying about voter education and awareness and all that.
Yeah. Indeed. Mr. Olaide in Abuja, if you can hear me, Dio, I'm sure you listened to the reports both from Rivers and from in the case of Ogun, and in fact even the update that we gave earlier on about results. But when we last spoke with you and then came to Mrs. Benite, we were talking about turnout, and you identified some reasons why that would be the case. But going beyond why that is the case, the other aspect of it is, how do we get that not to be the case anymore? That's the key question now, because legitimacy is now at stake. If less and less of the people are voting and whoever gets elected is for everybody, the question of legitimacy comes up, doesn't it?
Correct. I think we will likely have the challenge of legitimacy based on the pattern that we have seen in voter turnout. For the purpose of illustration, let's take Lagos State. Lagos State has the largest number of PVC collection. I think over 6 million or thereabout. And yesterday, I was also stuck on channels listening to the announcement of results from across all of the local government areas. And I took note of a number of them. In Ikorodu, for example, you had about 360,000 plus registered voters, and only about 64,000 came out. And that's the pattern that you actually saw across all of the major local governments, 20 local government areas in Lagos State. I think the other one that also caught my attention was Ikeja, where they had over 320,000 registered voters, and only about 38,000 or so came out. A country or in any state where you have 10-15% coming to elect governor, I think the question of legitimacy becomes a major concern. Now, how do we deal with it? For me, it ties, it goes back to some of the points I made earlier. Electoral process will have to be simplified for people to be confident that I can get this done and safely. I mentioned earlier that our current process is a bit convoluted, so that you have to go through so many processes. And in going through or in passing through that process, because most of it is manual, right? And we must acknowledge the fact that elections are mostly emotive, they are mostly emotional. If you have 500 people queuing up to vote at a polling unit, issues can arise from the simplest of conversations. And so the starting point will therefore be, how do we minimize the contact that takes place amongst voters? I think the point that one of your guests probably earlier in the day made about going digital, increasing the role of automation in our electoral process will do two things that I see. Number one, I think that it will likely reduce the concern about security. Because if you have people 500 people being able to vote from as many points, so it's not that we are just queuing up to be attended to by one person, all right, or 4 people that are part of a chain of clearing and then ultimately completing the electoral process. If you have 500 people who can vote at 20, 30 points about the same time simultaneously, what you would have done first is to reduce contacts and therefore the risk of violence that may otherwise arise if you have 500 people gathered in one place and talking and, you know, competing to have their own candidate elected. So I think the role of digital system, electronics, or automation in our electoral process is something that we need to visit. The inclusion or the introduction of the smart card readers significantly improved public confidence in our electoral system beginning 2011, 2015. I think we will need to do more moving forward. But in addition to that, we must also acknowledge the fact that elections are competition of interests. And anywhere there is interest, what that suggests is politics. So the electoral process is largely political. It therefore would mean that even while we are dealing with the technicalities, the mechanisms, the mechanisms for organizing the elections, putting in place the appropriate law, putting in place the systems that simplifies and eases the process of people by which people get to vote, ultimately, right? We must be able to mobilize the political will at the highest level. And here I don't mean just the president or INEC. It's about each of the different key stakeholders charged with organizing elections, committing to actually organizing true, free, credible, and safe elections. That would mean at the state level, state governors who are competing in the elections must subject themselves to the common rule. Candidates who are not serving in any government at the moment must commit themselves to the same rule. And ultimately, we must also have a judicial system that is able to arbitrate neutrally and objectively in the entire processes involved in the elections. I think this would likely help to bolster public confidence in the electoral system, that if we don't get it right at the PU, you're sure that if you go to the court, you are likely to be able to get justice, as long as you have evidence and you have a strong case. If you go to the poll or use the electronic system that we put in place, you're sure that you can freely and safely vote, and you're sure that your votes will count. You're sure that if you stay wherever you are actually casting your vote, you are not likely to be attacked by anyone. I think if we can, if we can target some of these pressure points that I think can bring about significant improvement in our electoral system, we are likely to get more Nigerians coming out and therefore address this challenge of legitimacy, which I think we will likely have to face.
Mr. Laide,
very soon.
We're going to take a short break, but while we're on break, I'd like you and Mrs. Benicio to think about the kind of infrastructure that will be required for that solution you're thinking about. We'll just take a quick break. I'll be back shortly.